If you're a wholesaler or a real estate investor and you don't know this strategy, guys, you are doing it all wrong. As a matter of fact, once you get this down, your whole business is going to change because it will enable you to scale at much more of a rapid pace. And with that, let me show you how it works. So what is the strategy that I'm talking about? It is seller carryback, stack, Morby method. It goes by many names, but essentially what this is you are able to get into an asset to where either you have no money down or you're actually getting paid to buy that asset. It is an awesome strategy. I'm super excited to go over kind of the mechanics of this. But before we go into it or do the deep dive, if you're wholesaling or building a real estate portfolio and getting cash, say like significantly undervalued, that is great and all, guys, but you are limited. The only way that you're always going to have some type of solution, no matter the scenario with a homeowner, where you can actually provide value to them, is if you learn creative finance as well. Because guys, creative finance equals no missed contracts or significantly less missed contracts. So with that, let's go over this real briefly because I want to dive into the actual bulk or like value of this video. Is real briefly going over a typical transaction. You're going to have a buyer, a seller, an asset, whether it be an RV park, a multifamily, single family homes, storage units, what have you. Doesn't matter the asset. Again, this works in all scenarios, but this traditional transaction, you are going to agree upon terms of what that purchase price is going to be, and so on and so forth with the seller. That then goes to an escrow process where it's typically handled at a title company or with a title attorney. And then from there, you have your close of escrow, and then the funds actually transfer to the seller, and that asset, the deed for that asset, transfers to the buyer. You have then purchased that piece of real estate. So where this differs from a wholesaler's perspective, as you know, wholesalers, they get this under contract, and within the inspection period and this part of this escrow process, they are assigning it to the end buyer. There's also instances where they can do a separate purchase and sale agreement and double close it to the end buyer. I've got other videos you can take a look at that. But from investors' perspective, they're going to be going out and getting some type of loan, whether it be a DSCR or hard money loan. Again, it's going to be some type of investor loan, and then they're going to have to bring the down payment with that. So real simply put, for this seller carryback, stack, Morby method, again, I'm just going to call it stack for the remainder of this video, but real brief overview or simple explanation of this is really you are coming in with your typical type of purchase, but you're at the end of it, you're going to have the seller pay for that down payment. So you've got no money in the deal. In some cases, you get paid for it. Now, what does this actually look like? Again, you're getting that institutional loan for your down payment. You're actually going to have a transactional funder. So that's what I do on my end. I fund the down payments for these type of transactions. But you're going to have that institutional loan. You're going to have that transactional funding that's going to come in, pay for that, go through the escrow process. And then this seller is going to carry back a portion of their equity. And you're going to make it so this, again, this is the first leg of the transaction. That's going to close. And then the second leg of the transaction, the seller is going to carry back or have a promissory note created to where it pays for this down payment. So it's going to go here, and that's going to pay off your transactional funder. And in some cases, actually pay you as the buyer. There's going to be some wiggle room in there. Again, that's not every transaction. Each one's a little bit different, but we have had many where the buyer actually gets paid to buy this real estate. It is awesome. It's a really cool strategy, and it's working really well right now because we're in a market where seller finance is probably your best option because rates are so high. But with that, the seller financing, they're wanting larger down payments for security. So this is one of the best ways to accommodate that. So let's go through this with actual numbers. So one we're actually working on right now is a $970K purchase price. They've got a DSCR loan at 55%. So that's $533K approximately. And the seller carry is also carrying $533K, so 55%. So the down payment on this, $436K. So those are the numbers there. That's the purchase price. And again, this is coming from a transactional funder, so you are not funding that down payment. And from these transactional funding perspectives, we fund not only the down payment, but whatever this DSCR loan does not cover. So if that's reserves, the down payment, closing costs, so on and so forth. So in this transaction, the down payment, it was direct to seller, or excuse me, the closing costs, this one was direct to seller. So there was like no commissions involved, stuff like that. Again, we highballed it in the estimation initially because I like to run these things conservatively, so there's no surprises. But we said at 3%. So at 3% closing costs, that's approximately $29K. So we fund we fund this down payment, we fund this closing cost at 29K there, and then that funds this purchase price. That takes care of the first leg of the transaction. Second leg of the transaction, again, the seller, out of this payout that they receive, they take $533,000 and they carry that back as a promissory note to where this seller is agreeing to pay that over like whatever structured payments that these two agreed upon. Again, that's going to get paid back, but these seller carryback funds are going to come back and pay off this transactional funder, us in this case, as well as give the buyer some funds. So in this case, what we have here is you've got 436 here, you've got 29K here. So that's the principal, like overall principal that we funded. So that's like 465. And then plus add-on fees, it is 479K. So that's 479K going back to the transactional funder there. And then that, so you subtract that from that seller carryback. And this left over about 54K. About 54K going back to the buyer. Now, guys, that is awesome. This buyer literally came in with no money to purchase this asset and then was able to get paid $54,000 at the end of the day to take down real estate, add real estate to his portfolio. Obviously, in real estate, there is always risk associated with everything. So you're probably wondering, okay, what are the gotchas? And also, if you're an experienced investor, you're probably going, okay, how in the heck do you find a DSCR lender that's going to allow this second position to be in place? Well, guys, we've done multiple of these transactions. There's ways where you structure it appropriately. And again, we're transparent with these lenders on how we're funding and so on and so forth. But we've done many of these. We've perfected it. I don't say perfected because you can always get better, but we've got it pretty well smoothly running, and we close many of these deals each month. So that's one item, is the DSCR lender. Fraudulent. You do not want to be committing mortgage fraud. So it's very important that you structure these appropriately. This is not a beginner strategy. This is a complex transaction, and I highly recommend going with someone that knows what they're doing on your first one to get this across the finish line. So what is the other gotcha? The other gotcha is the over leverage portion. So when you see this one is 533K here for the this loan, and then you also have a second loan. This is the seller carry here when you purchase that asset. Now you add these two together, you are now over leveraging at that purchase price. You are a little over $1 million and some change, and you subtract that purchase price, you're over leveraging about $96,000. So in that instance, it is super important that you are experienced going into these transactions. If this is your first time purchasing real estate, I would recommend maybe stay away from this, because you need to make sure that you're experienced and understand what will cash flow. And you need to be sure that you're underwriting these properties appropriately, because you could get into this and 6 months down the line go, man, the cash flow wasn't what I expected because I didn't account for capital expenditures that came up. I didn't account for repairs and maintenance, unexpected vacancies, the property management costs. Again, there's fees that you left out in your underwriting, and it's not cash flowing what you expected. So if that's the case, then say 6 months down the line, you owe almost 100 grand on that. So you're going to be paying 100 grand, because over 100 grand, really, because of closing costs and everything, to sell that asset because you are over leveraged. Now, people in real estate, they understand it's going to appreciate over time. So again, this strategy is more of a cash flow play up front, and you're going to make up for the appreciation down the line. But the thing is, with this 54 coming back, you could just reduce that. That way you're over leveraging it less. That way you're getting good at getting in good at an entry point. That maybe makes a little more sense. But what I think about as this is, say it needs some repairs, or say you need to do some renovations on the property. Well, instead of getting a gap loan in addition to all this, you pretty much rope that gap loan into the seller carry. That way you're getting paid here. So it's all really lumped into this one loan, and it's just much smoother that way, or much cleaner. So very awesome strategy, guys. And that's kind of the high level overview. It's important to understand there is one leg to this transaction, and then there is a second leg to this transaction. When you separate it like that, it does make a little bit more sense. Again, there is some complexity to this. So your first time doing it, I highly suggest you do not do it on your own, because some of the key components that make this a little more complex is, one, you're dealing with a lot of moving pieces. You're dealing with the transactional funding on this side. You're dealing with your primary lender, and all their different loan products. You've got to determine what's the best loan product that's going to be for that purchase specifically. seller terms, you need to know how to negotiate these terms with the seller and get kind of creative to make sure this actually all works out for you in the end. Make sure you structure it appropriately. Asset value, that's going to be another big one because guys, these DSCRs, so they're going to go in there and they are going to evaluate the property. They're going to determine, okay, because it's really based off of the performance of the property. And to do that, they need to know what the actual value is. So they're going to get it appraised. And when they get it appraised, say it comes in under that purchase price, you may end up going into a situation as a buyer where you are paying a little more than expected to take down that asset. So maybe it's not a zero down, or maybe you're not getting paid back, but you are paying a little, which still, there are some cases where we've seen that occur. But still, you're in way less than 5% down, which is still phenomenal. I mean, that's amazing, and especially if you structure these seller carry terms effectively or have good terms, it's going to be awesome. This is definitely how you scale at a very rapid pace, because you can purchase properties like this over and over and over, and really less cash out of your pocket to do so. Then it also goes to TCs, so transaction coordinator. So as far as quarterbacking the whole deal and being familiar with the contracts, the securities you need to be putting in place, how the communications with the lenders, the communications with the title companies, that is super critical. So having the right TC on your team is a crucial step. You also need investor-friendly title companies or title attorneys that are familiar with this process. And again, transparency with the institutional lender that is involved, so they understand what's actually going, how these funds are being sourced, so on and so forth. Now you may be looking at that and going, hey, that's pretty complex. Maybe I veer away from this. But guys, guess what? We have solved the solution for you. We've made it so much easier, because with our clients, what we do is we essentially, again, if you need some assistance on this before even going into it, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you. But you really, our product right now is you just get, say, an LOI, so a letter of intent, where you've got the agreed upon terms of what that seller carry is going to look like with the seller. And then from then, you submit it to us, and then we quarterback the remainder of the deal. So we'll get you connected with a DSCR lender if you don't have one. We'll get you connected with our TC team that will quarterback the entire deal. They'll write up the purchase and sale agreement. They'll make sure to get all the documents prepared that are necessary for the title attorney that we use consistently on each second leg of these transactions. Again, we've streamlined this process to where it is super simple. You get it an LOI with those agreed upon terms. We quarterback everything else, get it taken care of, get it closed, then you have an asset, and in some cases also get paid along with that asset. Super awesome deal. Now, if this is something that interests you, definitely feel free to reach out. I love talking about this stuff because this is such a killer process. This is such a killer structure. This is how I'm acquiring assets today as well. It's awesome. If you have any more questions, definitely reach out. Love to talk to you. If you want our services, the link to our website to get these type of funding services is in the description below. Or if you want to continue to consume some of more of the value adds content that we have, definitely click on the next video and we can help you out with other aspects of this business. And with that, I will catch you on the next one.